welcome to Discover La Jolla, where we showcase the jewel of San Diego, and that's La Jolla, California. I'm honored and excited to have Diane Kane in the studio with me this morning. Hi, Diane.
Hi, Jim.
And you are a representative with ACLJ,
Correct.
Association for the City of La Jolla.
You got it.
Okay, good. So, really, this is a move to make La Jolla its own city within inside San Diego, which other communities have done. And this has been talked about, it sounds like, and tried in the past, but really now, here we are in 2026, your group has made it the furthest and is the closest now to actually achieving this.
Yeah,
So tell me a little bit about where we are in the process, Diane.
that's a great question because this has been going for a couple of years now. And we sort of make announcements where we've met a milestone and then we go quiet.
Uh-huh.
And people think nothing's happening.
Right.
But it's kind of like the duck swimming on the pond. We're floating, but our little
Got
webbed
it.
feet are scurrying fast
Okay.
underwater. So where we are now is we're getting ready to issue a request for proposals, which is abbreviated to an RFP, to consultants that would do the final financial and
Fiscal.
fiscal analysis
Okay.
to understand more precisely what independence for La Jolla would mean financially. So this would be a consultant that would collect data from the city and from other affected agencies that we get services from to figure out what that's going to cost us, and then to negotiate with the city on
For
properties that are
those
owned by the
services.
city. Well, there's part of it is negotiations on properties that are owned by the city that would be within the confines of a city of La Jolla. Things like fire stations
Right.
or parks or whatever. And then there are a number of city-owned buildings that there are leases on, so and or revenues that are generated from those
So all of that
properties.
has to be
So
figured out,
all of that
analyzed.
has to be worked out.
Got it.
So the preliminary just did a really quick and dirty sketch on, does this make sense to even ask this question? And the answer was definitively yes.
Yes.
And the next
And then
step
you
was
got the
the
signatures and the
signatures was,
support, right?
are people interested in this? Were they supported? And the answer was yes. So now
And
we're,
that took thousands of signatures,
it
right?
did, it
And
was over,
involvement.
absolutely, it was over 6,800 signatures
Wow. Okay.
and involvement of
So
it's about a
those steps have
6-month
been
period.
passed. So now we're
Yeah,
at the final sort of fiscal analysis.
correct,
And you guys are in the process of raising some funds, which we need to do in order to hire one of these consultants, right?
correct.
Okay. And go ahead. I didn't mean to
Okay,
interrupt.
so, well, we got into, there's a lot of confusion about what's LAFCO and what's the LAFCO process.
Okay.
And LAFCO is an acronym for Local Agency Formation Commission,
Okay.
which is a process set up by the state of California. The local office here is, works for the county, and they deal with deciding boundaries of various types of public service agencies.
Okay.
So it's not just cities, it's water districts, school districts, special districts of any type, agricultural
Parks.
districts. Yeah,
So,
anything that has a geographic uh, area, they decide what the boundaries are and who's responsible for what within those boundaries or
okay.
outside those
Got it.
boundaries.
Makes sense.
So this is a process set up by the state. It's intended to happen. It does happen. We are just in that process. To
Okay.
get into the process, we needed to prove this was a reasonable thing to ask them to spend their time on,
Got it.
which is why we needed the original study, and that people would support it. So that was the petition. So at this point, we are now in the process. We formally entered into it in January when we provided, this is of last year, when we provided them the signatures, we gave them the financial analysis, we gave them a bunch of money to pay for their staff time, and an initial, an application, which answered a bunch of questions. So at this point, we are now going into the next phase, which is we're in the process. They're going to hire a consultant on our behalf.
Okay.
We will be helping with them to choose that consultant. Other members of the committee vetting the consultants would be the City of San Diego.
Okay.
We've got someone perhaps from the Chamber of Commerce, and we may be looking at a union representative
Okay.
in order to get a robust perspective on what's important to know about the separation, both for the La Jollans and for San Diegans in general. So how does this affect everybody? And then part of that, as we get to the tail end, the data collection, we'll be looking at who's responsible for what. And that's where the negotiations come in. Uh, Once we clear that, the entire package is bundled up and given to the LAFCO Commission, which
Okay.
is comprised of representatives from people all over the county.
Okay.
And they look at the information and decide whether this works or not.
And if they decide yes, then it goes to a general vote?
Correct. It would go to an election, and there are two votes as part of that election. So La Jollans actually get to vote twice, believe it or not.
Okay.
There is a citywide vote as to whether or not San Diegans in general feel this
Support.
is a good idea.
Okay.
And then a separate vote for registered voters in La Jolla, where they get to vote, yes, we want to do this.
Okay.
So it's a two-part election there. We get to vote in both parts of that, believe it or not.
Okay.
And the outcome would then determine whether or not we separate.
So would that be in 2028?
We're looking at 2028.
2028. And so, in your mind, in your view, Diane, what are the big benefits of La Jolla becoming its own city? I mean, why would La Jolla become its own city?
Well, I've lived here for 30 years,
Okay.
and it's a lovely community. It's probably one of the most beautiful on the planet.
I agree.
And the city is losing a lot of its polish. You know,
Neglected.
we're known as the jewel, and the shine is coming off the
The
jewel.
jewel.
And I've spent a lot of my life in public service.
Okay.
I retired from both the state of California and from the city of San Diego.
Okay.
And I understand, and I'm also a former city council member
All
at a
right.
tiny little town up in Los Angeles where
Okay.
I ended my career there as mayor. So I've looked at big cities, small
Small
cities.
cities.
I've worked for the state. I've interfaced with the federal government. So I pretty much understand the mechanisms of public service. And I'm disappointed by what has happened to La Jolla with benign neglect.
So give me some examples of that, like the streets not being
well,
repaired,
absolutely.
the potholes, the curbs not being painted, the fire hydrants not being painted, the trash can receptacles being old, not being replaced. I mean, all of those things.
All of the above, yes.
Okay. Public areas, parks, staircases down to the beach,
Correct. Yeah.
all of that, which really should, if we are the jewel, we should be the shiniest object in town.
We should. And, we've serviced, 2.3 million visitors a year
Okay.
at our public parks and beaches. I'm now on Parks and Beaches, and we have just created a National Register Historic District from Wellview Point
Oh
up
yeah,
through
down in the
Coast Walk.
coast. Yep, the coast walk.
And we've done a lot of research on how do we address the lack of maintenance for that area, because it's not included in the MAD, and it's considered a city park by city sources.
And they're not
So-
maintaining it.
So the funding we get is funding for a city park when we're really a regional park that benefits the entire area for its draw of visitors.
And it would benefit, we'd have more visitors, we could have higher like taxes on the hotels or like how,
Well,
TOT,
how
I
would-
read
yeah,
about the TOT.
TOT, yes, that transit occupancy tax. And that is charged by visitors at hotels throughout the county.
Okay,
So if we can attract more visitors to our gym here
Yep.
and have them stay longer, that tax benefit accrues countywide wherever
I
those
see.
people are staying.
Everybody benefits.
Absolutely, because we don't have that much hotel space in La Jolla.
No, we don't.
And most people stay elsewhere and then they
And
come
then they
to
come
visit.
in. Yeah.
And the question is, when they get here, what do? Where they go down to the cove
Yeah.
and they cluster.
Yeah.
They've part of the
They go down and
problem,
see the seals and
and
yep.
then they leave.
Right.
So they're not spending their money here.
Uh,
A huge chunk of local government support is sales tax. So what we need to do is to capture a lot of that visitorship that is going down, taking their selfie with the seals, and then leaving, and getting them to circulate through the village, stay a bit
stay in the
longer
village,
here.
go to dinner.
Exactly. And then if we had facilities that were more accommodating where people could do more things here, perhaps they'd come back, they'd spend a few extra days.
I see.
And that would benefit everybody.
Got it.
So,
Got it. And so, I would imagine some people are questioning, like, okay, if you separate from the city, you know, who's going to police the streets? And is the fire department still going to come and save my house? And, or is the dog catcher still going to get the dogs at the park that are off the leash? And so you guys would go back out, and LAFCO would go back out and contract individually with
well,
the police?
that's part of what we'd be looking at as this part of this fiscal analysis is we'd be looking at contracted services.
How much would it
So-
cost to hire the police department independently?
Exactly.
I see.
So we're looking at what share of those services are we currently getting? What are we paying for them? And do we want better service?
Right.
Part of what might help with safety with police service is the Northern Division is over in University City. So
Okay.
there's a long lag time between
a
when
response.
between when people get a request for service and when they can get here, because the station is so many
far
miles
away.
away.
Got it.
So we could get a station right in the center of the village for a much quicker response.
That would be great. I'd love that.
So, we know what we're getting in terms of service for police, fire, lifeguard. Those things we would contract. Who we would contact with would be also looked at. Back to the city I was mayor of, we were a contract city. And we were very small. We were significantly smaller than La Jolla. We were able to afford ourselves. We contracted almost everything. I think we had a staff of 5, believe it or not.
Okay.
And we did very, very well. So it was primarily residential. We had absolutely no sales tax. So we managed to survive. So
Well, this
it's
really
not
puts
that
the
silly of a-
decision making back in the hands
of
of La Jolla,
locals. Yeah, absolutely.
instead of somebody at the city of San Diego determining whether the trash can should be replaced down at the park.
Yeah.
Now it would be a little more like, we need to replace the trash cans.
Yeah.
We have the money for it. Here's the budget. It's in our budget. Let's go do it.
Right. You have a plan and you have people to execute the plan. You can get a more refined feedback loop. Are your services working? Where do you need to apply them? Do you need more? Can you reallocate services? Maybe that's too much in one spot, we cut it back. So you can do a much more fine-grained analysis of what you need and when you need it.
Yeah, this is interesting because a lot of times, I'll see like the city trying to improve a walkway or pedestrian sidewalk thing, and it just looks like they've just left their stuff there, and it's almost like you feel helpless. Like who do you call? Like
Exactly.
who's watching this? Where's the accountability? Where's this? Like,
Sorry to say, we've really created in government at all levels a morass of regulations and processes that are very difficult to navigate.
right.
I've been doing a lot of research on this lately. Are you familiar with the book that just recently come out called Abundance?
I am not.
I don't know, came out in the fall, and I've been reading a lot about it in various news media sources, and I just read it over the holidays. And it really makes a point that we become so safety and I'd say risk averse as a culture that we've developed processes and regulations to make sure nothing bad ever happens. And in order to assure that level of risk avoidance, we don't do anything.
Yeah.
It's easier to say no than to
Right.
say yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
And we're finding that out, like being on parks and beaches. I'm involved with 2 projects right now. One to replace the vandalized Belvedere in Wyndham Sea,
Good.
and the other to repair a staircase at Welleview Point.
Oh yeah. The
And-
crumbling.
Exactly. So we've got a whole slew of crumbling staircases
Yes, we do.
along our coastline, which should be fairly simple to replace or to repair.
They're staircases.
They're staircases, exactly.
Yeah.
So we raised the money. Parks and Beaches has been getting volunteer funds to raise money to affect these various projects. We're working with the city for permitting, and the processes and the permits that we've come across as a volunteer group have just been eye-popping.
I saw something, and I could be misquoting. I think I read it in the La Jolla Light where they were talking about the staircase down off Camino
de la
Costa.
Costa, that's
I
another
think
one.
I read somewhere that they wanted 300,000 or more than that to
Yeah,
repair. It's a
just for a
concrete
study.
staircase.
That was for a study.
Oh, just for the study.
That was for the study.
Oh, I see.
And
Because they could hire me, and I could pull up AI and say this would be a perfect staircase for the beach, and these are the materials you should use, and here's the contractor that can do it.
well, part of the irony with that grant that we got from the state was it wasn't just for the staircase. It's for the parking area and for visitor access, handicap access there.
I see.
So it's for a much bigger area.
I see.
And it looks like they're on target to spend the entire 2 million on replacing one concrete
Absurd.
staircase,
That's absurd.
which is absurd.
Yeah.
So,
Huh.
basically, it's things like that
Those are big. You're talking
that's
about millions of dollars.
that's costing us a
yeah.
lot of money. I don't want to bring up silly lawsuits,
Right.
but the city's not been very successful in a number of lawsuits that have hit the paper. We're paying for that. So, there's
And it seems like there would, I mean, it seems like now I'm not a financial analyst. There's enough money being generated from property taxes inside La Jolla to operate efficiently.
well, we can certainly operate much more efficiently with the same resources we have now if we were smaller.
Got it.
And
That's
just faster, quicker,
nimble,
more efficient. So
quicker
that's
to
yeah.
adjust. Yeah. Wow.
So I think that's the main argument for self-governance. And then there are a number of things that the city is doing that are important to be enacted citywide, but they don't work very well here in La Jolla.
Okay.
So that's part of having a really big city. When you pass a regulation, it's something that applies to everywhere equally, and each community is different.
Of course.
So being along the coast, we're sort of a stepchild of the city, believe it or
What
not.
are some other cities in California that have done this, that have been successful?
Well, separating from the county is the way this is normally done. And one of the more recent ones was Encinitas.
Right.
So,
Yep. Okay.
so
They
that's
separated from the county, not the city.
correct. Now, separating from a city is much more difficult. So even though there's a process to do it, it's never been done.
Ah,
And you might ask, why not?
okay. Why not? I'll
And,
ask.
well, I'll borrow a line from a Carol Burnett musical. You might remember Once Upon a Mattress
Okay.
from years ago, where the queen is providing a test to see if the Carol Burnett is a real princess. And she's coming up with the test. And the parameters for the test was, I need a process that looks fair, sounds fair, seems fair, and isn't fair. And that's pretty much what the state has done with the criteria and the process for allowing communities to separate from cities.
I see.
So there is process, but ever since that process went into effect, nobody's been able to do it.
I see. Well, hopefully La Jolla is going to be the first one.
We'll see. We're moving that way. We're
And
hoping.
so if a new consultant's hired for this fiscal analysis, let's say in April or around springtime, how long does that take, and when would we have the results of
Yeah.
that official study in theory?
Well, in theory, they've already got some really good information from the
The
preliminary study.
preliminary, of course.
And we had a number of people look at that, and they said they thought it was fairly complete. So a lot of that just needs to be updated.
And refined.
Like the numbers need to be updated. It's a 2-year-old study. And then I think probably the question mark is the negotiations. So what that study didn't cover a number of things. And one was negotiations over leased and owned properties. Again, dealing with the contracting, liability. So we have a lot of liability here. Now, I quite often ask, why would people in San Diego let us go?
Okay. Why would people
Why
in
would
San
they
Diego let us go?
Because they think we're this golden egg, and we're producing all this property tax for the city because we have very expensive real
Okay.
estate here. And what they don't understand how property tax is collected and how it is parceled out. So the first thing is that out of every dollar of property tax you pay, the local government only gets back 18 cents. And this is set by the state.
Ah,
So the state does the assessment, and the state collects the money, and they parcel it out.
And they parcel it back only 18%.
We're at the end of the pipeline.
I see.
So they take their cut first.
I'm glad you shared
Counties and special districts then get it, and cities are at the very end of the pipeline. And all we get is 18 cents on the dollar.
Okay.
So, and of the property tax that is collected in San Diego, the part that is contributed by La Jolla is 6%.
Okay.
So we're not sending the city as much in property taxes as everybody thinks we are. So although we have some very high-end properties, they're residential, and they don't generate nearly as much money as office buildings, auto sales, parks. Think about other land uses, commercial uses.
Yeah.
They generate way more in property tax than we do.
That's very good. I'm glad you shared that.
So that's one of the myths, that we're going to suck all this money out of San Diego,
Right.
and we don't give that much money.
So when this passes and is voted on, and La Jolla says yes, and we're setting up a new mayor of La Jolla and the city council, and so then that would be an election of all those people after 2028.
Correct.
And then we would have our own mayor.
Yeah.
So technically, I can run for mayor of La Jolla.
You could. Congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Well, good. My kids will be very happy because
Exactly.
they've always told me I should run for mayor.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Wow,
So,
this is fascinating.
so that's one thing. Why would they let us go? Let
Yeah.
me continue. Another thing is, if we separate, San Diego cannot lose any money. So they get exactly the same amount of money from us that we're giving them now.
So there's no net loss for the city.
Exactly. That's part of this whole study. It has to have a net neutral
Effect.
end. Yeah, exactly. And that's what all this analysis is about.
Got it.
So they can't lose any money.
Got it.
So another reason would be, we've got a lot of unfunded maintenance, and we've got a lot of never funded infrastructure,
Right.
and a lot of liability that goes with those.
A ton.
A ton.
Yeah.
So
look at our sidewalks.
So basically, the city gets rid of that. So they carve us off.
And
that
they
keep
get rid
the resource.
of all the,
they get rid of
all the
li-
money, and they get
and
rid
they
of
get
all the
money.
liability.
Exactly. And that gives them the ability to focus on other communities in need as well, because we're not the only community
asking for things
that is having difficulty.
Of course.
So it basically simplifies their tasks. It gives them the same amount of resources, and it allows us to take our part of the agreement, and we can move faster and quicker, clean the place up, and have it work better for everybody, so everybody gets more money.
Right, and we attract more visitors and
Exactly.
bring more attention.
So we're hoping this becomes a virtuous cycle where it leads to uplift community-wide.
That's fantastic. I mean, what an exciting thing to have happening in La Jolla.
Well, we have a lot of places looking at us with interest, because
I'm sure.
nobody's gotten this far before. So we're actually getting inquiries from all over the state. We have been getting a lot of very, very high-priced talent that want to help us. But again, we're stuck. We can't hire them until we have some money.
Right.
So
how would people in La Jolla, or even outside La Jolla, anywhere in the world, donate to this campaign or help support this campaign, Diane?
the easiest way to do it is to go to our website,
Okay.
which is cityoflajolla.org.
All right.
And on the homepage, there's a big donate button.
So
And just
it's pretty
click on
simple,
that
and it'll
follow the
get you.
directions.
Gotcha. Okay. So everybody go do that. Go to cityoflajolla.org and donate. Well, good. Well, thank you so much. It was a fascinating conversation. You debunked a lot of myths that were floating around in my head. You educated me a ton of actually what's going on and the actual outcome. So thank you. It's fascinating.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you on the next episode of Discover La Jolla. Thanks for tuning in.